This is Ash speaking. We're getting ready for takeoff soon. All passengers, please come back into the room, sit comfortably, and there'll be a demonstration. Buckle up and get ready. Okay, guys, if you can hear me, please come back into the room. There's a lulling voice that's calling you. Come back in. Come back in. We'll start in 2 minutes. Yeah. While we're waiting, everyone, I just want to say thank you all for being here on a Friday afternoon again and say, wasn't that choir fantastic? So if we ever do this again, we're going to have just a complete 2 days of a conference where all the invited guests lead a sing-song. And they're going to have to sing their papers or tap dance. Before we start, we're getting going. I just want to introduce 2 people who are here but not here, but I just want to tell you just a little lovely story. Nora, who's one of the organizers, Nora Tremblay, this was her grandmother's chair, her actual grandmother's actual chair. So these are not just props. These chairs are like, Larissa talked a little about the materiality of things and touching. Each one of these people who've sat on the chair, not even knowing it, has had some form of communication with Nora's family and Nora's grandma. And this chair is my grandmother's chair. My grandma Annie, who my second name is Anne, and it's from her. And she's not been here for over 20 years, but every time I sit in this chair and I touch it, I think of her, but I also know that she's touched it. And if you want to come up and see it, there's a scratch mark here where every day when she was watching television, her stories, as she used to say, she would sit there and do this with her finger. So this chair, which she always covered with a doily, of course, but I don't want that to be covered because I know her fingers were there. So these chairs are special to us. And in a sense, when I started working on issues of aging and technology and rethinking it, she was my inspiration because I wanted to do a life history story with her. And I was learning how to use a digital camera. She was 82 at the time. And so I said, tell me a story of your life, blah, blah, blah. And at the end of it, she looked at me and she said, and I was there with my camera figuring out how to use it. She said, give me that thing. And she said, I'm going to ask you some questions now. I thought, holy crap. I've just learned a big lesson here. She wants the power. So yeah, so in a sense, Bold is for all of you and for all of them and for all the people who are here in the room present and all those our ancestors and our friends and family who aren't here, who hopefully some of the talks have made you think about them and think about yourself and also what we don't want just for our past, but knowing that they're here with us, helping us to build whatever future we build together. So the other thing I want to say is it's my mom's 80th birthday today. Yeah, Shirley. She's not here. She's in Winnipeg with not with me. So I'm going to ask when we're just before we start. You don't have to sing happy birthday, but my mom's name is Shirley. So if you can all say happy birthday, Shirley. Okay, should we do a practice? I'll go 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday, Shirley. I'm going to do a little video of all of you, if that's okay. And you're going to say happy birthday, Shirley. And I'm going to send it to her right away so she knows that even though I'm here with all of you lovely people, we're thinking of her too. And she was like, I said, Mom, you're 79 in the night. Are you going to have a glass of champagne at when the clock turns? And she said, no. I said, okay, well, we'll talk tomorrow. So I'm going to count down. I'm going to go 3, 2, 1, and then you say happy birthday, Shirley. Okay, let me make sure I got the video on. All right, so are we ready to start, Ash? Okay, Constance? Okay, thank you. Shout out again to Constance, Nora, Scott, Sasha, the entire student team who really, without them, Bold would not be here. So just a little clap and a round of applause for our student team who are still working the fourth space, etc. And also thank you to our interpreters who've been up here all for 2 days working their hearts out for us, making this, and outside. And Johnny up in tech, who we don't see, he's behind the bright lights. Okay, so my name's Kim Sawchuk, still, and we're here for the last panel, Belonging in the City, Se sentir chez soi dans sa ville. And so we're gonna have, again, we have 3 speakers, and I'm going to introduce each of them in order, and we are going to try and keep enough time for discussion at the end. But again, we're doing our best, but at the end of lunch and everything else, it's sometimes a little hard. If Shannon also is going to be interviewed, one thing you should know is we're actually getting quite a bit of media attention. And so that's something we need to keep working on because things, nobody can make anything happen alone. And we need to work on multiple fronts together. And so we need to have a media takeover, and we're doing our best. Solange Baril, Groupe Harmonie, will begin with a talk s'appelait Harmonie dans la ville. Bachelière en philosophie et dentrice d'un certificat en gérontologie de l'Université de Montréal, Solange Baril travaille au Groupe Harmonie depuis 2010. D'abord intervenante spécialisée puis superviseur clinique, elle porte depuis septembre 2018, merci, j'ai besoin d'un autre cours en français, la direction générale de l'organisme dont la mission première est de venir en aide aux personnes aînées qui sont aux prises avec une dépendance aux substances, alcool, médicaments, drogues, etc. ou au jeu. Solange. Merci.
Wow, merci beaucoup. Je suis à mon premier panel, alors vous serez généreux, j'espère. Je vais parler, je l'espère, lentement, assez pour que la traduction puisse se faire correctement et tout. J'ai tendance à glisser rapidement quand je parle. Alors, vous voyez que cette présentation s'intitule « Harmonie dans la ville ». L'harmonie est un tout constitué d'éléments divers qui apportent satisfaction et agrément. Le tout constitué d'éléments divers dont je vous parle aujourd'hui, c'est le groupe Harmonie, un organisme communautaire qui est installé ici, pas très loin, dans Peter McGill, CLSC Métro, pour ceux et celles qui connaissent le quartier. Alors, mais c'est ça, le titre Harmonie dans la ville, on va enlever ça tout de suite et est-ce que ça fonctionne? Oui, j'ai fait ça doucement. Alors, la mission du groupe Harmonie est une mission d'intervention en gérontoxicomanie. C'est une mission unique au Québec. On est le seul organisme communautaire qui a développé une approche spécifiquement auprès des personnes aînées qui ont des enjeux de dépendance. Aîné, chez nous, vous en avez peut-être parlé dans ces 2 jours-là. C'est quoi âge aîné? Au groupe Harmonie, c'est 55 ans et plus, parce que des gens qui consomment depuis très longtemps, évidemment, le corps vieillissant en a pris pour son rhume. Donc, parfois, un corps de 55 de personnes qui ont consommé est plus âgé. Et les dépendances qui sont en jeu sont... on est à une époque de dépendance avec les technologies. On va en parler des technologies, etc. Beaucoup de gens, je pense que 100% de la salle peut comprendre la dépendance et la dépendance aux technologies, peut-être les plus jeunes. Nous n'intervenons pas en dépendance pour les dépendances à Internet, par exemple. Les dépendances qui sont concernées au groupe Harmonie sont l'alcool, les médicaments, la drogue et le jeu pathologique. Souvent, quand on parle des aînés qui ont des enjeux de dépendance, une des premières réponses qu'on va avoir, c'est « Ah, quoi? Ça existe, ça, des personnes aînées qui ont des enjeux de dépendance? » Eh bien, oui, et de toutes sortes. Des enjeux de dépendance à la médication psychotrope, par exemple, les benzodiazépines. On ne le sait même pas, c'est prescrit, c'est normal. Mais en fait, ça crée de la dépendance beaucoup. Et ensuite de ça, on a les dépendances plus communes liées à l'alcool. Et maintenant, on a aussi les baby boomers qui arrivent dans les aînés aussi, qui ont, eux, connu plus de la consommation de drogue. Donc, on a, nous, affaire à des enjeux de dépendance de drogue qu'on ne voyait pas avant, par exemple. Et le jeu est une dépendance très, très importante aussi qu'on va voir dans le cadre de nos interventions. Évidemment, alcool, médicaments, drogue, jeu et des mélanges de ces dépendances-là, c'est des choses qu'on croise, nous, régulièrement au groupe Harmonie. Des gens ou au jeu, c'est-à-dire que l'éventail est très large. On a tendance à penser que c'est les gens en itinérance, très vulnérables, mais non, nous, on a des gens qui sont à Westmount et dans des quartiers plus riches qui ont des enjeux de dépendance ou au jeu ou à la médication ou autres. En fait, ça touche toutes les sphères de la société. Alors que vous ayez un enjeu de dépendance ou quelqu'un que vous connaissez, c'est correct. Nous, on vous accueille comme ça. On est un organisme, on accueille sans jugement. C'est notre première prise de contact. On rencontre la personne d'abord et non pas un problème de consommation, par exemple. Pour la petite histoire, le groupe Harmonie est né en 1983. C'était une initiative d'un homme qui avait, au début de la soixantaine, qui travaillait au CLSC Métro à domicile chez les personnes aînées, qui a fait son certificat en toxicomanie, un certificat en gérontologie, et qui a décidé de démarrer cet organisme-là dans le début des années 80, en même temps que beaucoup d'autres organismes sont nés aussi. Comme quoi, autour de 65 ans, lui a démarré un organisme communautaire. Alors, voilà. Au début des années 90, le groupe Harmonie est devenu un lieu d'enseignement, de supervision pour les étudiants en travail social. Donc, chaque année, nous avons une stagiaire en travail social avec nous. En 2013, nous avons amorcé une initiative en travail de milieu auprès des aînés en situation de vulnérabilité. C'est des intervenants qui sont dans des habitations à loyer modique, des milieux où il y a plus de chances de retrouver des gens qui ont une situation de vulnérabilité pour les mettre en lien avec des ressources dans la communauté. En 2017, Lise Terrien, qui a été directrice et intervenante au groupe Harmonie pendant de nombreuses années, près de 25 ans, a quitté pour la retraite. Et c'est en 2019 qu'on se retrouve aujourd'hui, ici, à Behold. Merci à Engage et à ACT pour l'invitation. et avec une équipe fabuleuse, avec un CA fort. C'est un bon moment aussi pour nous. On va faire une planification stratégique. On se re-questionne sur notre mission, sur la vision et sur ce qui nous attend dans les années à venir. Voilà pour la petite histoire. On est installé dans le quartier Peter McGill de l'arrondissement de Ville-Marie. Est-ce que vous connaissez le quartier Peter McGill? C'est un quartier très spécial. C'est un quartier magnifique avec énormément de diversité, des gens qui viennent de tous les milieux, des riches, des pauvres, des gens qui viennent de tous les horizons, anglo, franco, aînés, jeunes. C'est vraiment un quartier très, très diversifié qui manque un peu peut-être de ressources communautaires. C'est un lieu où les gens, beaucoup font chacun pour soi parce qu'il y a peu d'espace de rencontre collectif. Merci encore d'avoir fait cette activité-là dans la ville, au cœur de ce quartier qui manque de ressources ou de lieux pour se rencontrer. Bravo. Et donc, il y a peu de parcs dans Peter McGill, il n'y a pas de centre communautaire et il n'y a pas d'école primaire pour les enfants. Donc, on se retrouve, nous, le groupe Harmonie, au cœur d'un quartier qui, disons qu'il y a des facteurs de risque dans le quartier pour les gens aînés qui se retrouvent, encore plus s'ils ont moins de moyens, avec plus d'isolement social, puisque sortir, ça peut coûter de l'argent, ou alors ils n'ont pas les services et ressources nécessairement dont ils auraient besoin. Alors, on a fait un petit bottin des ressources. Peut-être vous l'avez vu à notre kiosque. On a juste la version anglaise qui reste. Si vous voulez, ils sont offerts à vous, un bottin des ressources pour les aînés du quartier. Alors, quels sont les services offerts par le groupe Harmonie aux personnes aînées qui ont des enjeux de dépendance? Le groupe Harmonie, nous offrons des interventions individuelles. Les interventions individuelles se tiennent pour les gens qui habitent le CLSC Métro. On peut aller à domicile, ce qui est une des caractéristiques de notre intervention. Pouvoir intervenir à domicile, c'est tout un avantage et un privilège, non seulement pour les gens, mais pour les intervenants aussi, parce que les milieux de vie parlent énormément. Intervention individuelle. Nous offrons aussi les groupes d'entraide. Donc, des groupes qui se rencontrent chaque 2 semaines, 2 heures, en anglais ou en français, et un lieu où les gens se sentent accueillis, non jugés, peu importe où ils en sont dans leur situation, et qu'ils soient consommateurs de quoi que ce soit ou qu'ils aient des enjeux avec le jeu. Finalement, le dernier des services offerts et le plus précieux, qui fait partie de la nature même de notre organisme, je dirais, c'est le bénévolat. Depuis 1983, le groupe Harmonie comprend des bénévoles qui sont jumelés aux personnes qui sont aidées. Ces bénévoles-là sont invités à développer avec la personne aidée une relation de type amical pour renouer avec les intérêts passés. Parce que bien souvent, une personne qui a des enjeux de dépendance va se retrouver dans la bulle de la dépendance et ne voit plus les intérêts passés, les options possibles, des rencontres possibles, va s'isoler, et le bénévolat permet d'installer une relation saine, régulière. Avec la personne, c'est un très beau cadeau. Je suis vraiment désolée pour les changements de diapo comme ça. Voilà. Alors, attendez-moi, je pense que j'ai zappé un truc. Les approches. Donc, les approches au groupe Harmonie, l'approche, c'est la réduction des méfaits. Si vous êtes familier avec le langage en dépendance, la réduction des méfaits, c'est l'objectif qu'on vise. Donc, c'est de réduire les effets négatifs de la consommation. Donc, la personne arrive, on va regarder avec elle à partir d'où on part, et quels sont ses objectifs à elle, puis de quelle façon est-ce qu'on peut travailler ensemble en accompagnement, j'aime mieux accompagnement qu'intervention, pour l'aider à réduire les conséquences négatives de sa consommation. J'ai passé, je crois, le portrait des aînés, juste pour vous donner une idée de la clientèle, on n'utilise pas clientèle, des aidés du groupe Harmonie dans la dernière année bouclée, qui était 17 et 18. C'était 112 personnes qui ont été aidées par le groupe Harmonie cette année-là en gérontoxicomanie. Il y avait sur ces 112 personnes 65 femmes et 47 hommes. Ce qui peut sembler étonnant. On se dit, c'est plus des hommes qui ont des enjeux de dépendance. Mais l'affaire, c'est aussi qui vient demander de l'aide. Et là-dessus, c'est parfois plus des femmes qui tendent à demander de l'aide, encore une fois. Cette année-là, c'était 82 personnes francophones et 30 personnes anglophones qui étaient aidées au groupe Harmonie. Et il y avait seulement ces 27 personnes qui provenaient du CLSC Métro, du territoire du CLSC Métro, pour le reste venant de l'extérieur. C'est dire qu'on aide des gens qui sont de partout de la ville de Montréal. Des fois, c'est au téléphone extérieur à la ville de Montréal. On a une approche très souple et on essaie d'aider au mieux, à partir de nos ressources, le plus grand nombre de personnes possible. Je vous l'ai dit, les situations des personnes qu'on aide sont toutes très différentes. On ne peut pas généraliser que les personnes aînées qui ont des enjeux de dépendance sont plus comme ci ou comme ça. Il y avait 112 personnes cette année-là. C'était 112 personnes uniques et situations uniques. Les services au groupe Harmonie sont confidentiels. Ils sont offerts gratuitement et ils sont offerts en anglais et en français. Il y a beaucoup de facteurs de risque qui sous-tendent la dépendance. De nombreux, vous les connaissez certainement, vous pourriez y penser tout de suite, mais pensons aux enjeux de santé physique, les enjeux de santé mentale, beaucoup. On peut parler des stresseurs multiples liés au vieillissement ou non, mais des fois des stresseurs financiers, beaucoup aussi. Et évidemment, l'isolement social, qui fait partie du portrait, je dirais, de la majorité des personnes qui sont aidées. Des fois, les gens sont en couple, mais on peut être seul ensemble, nous le savons. Voilà. Donc, on se fait demander, nous, souvent, pourquoi est-ce qu'il y a une approche spécifique en toxicomanie pour les personnes de 55 ans et plus? Disons que c'est des enjeux très différents. Au niveau des groupes, par exemple, une personne de 70 ans qui irait dans un groupe général se sentirait peut-être pas nécessairement à l'aise de parler, se sentirait pas chez elle dans l'univers social qui est présenté, par exemple. Ça, c'est au niveau des groupes, on le voit que c'est très, très pertinent d'avoir développé des groupes spécifiquement pour les aînés en dépendance. Mais sur d'autres sujets, les enjeux différents des aînés, on a un rapport au monde, parfois c'est un rapport au temps qui est différent. Le corps ne réagit pas de la même façon à la substance et souvent, avec l'âge, les thématiques ou les choses qui sont traversées, les événements qui sont traversés sont particuliers à cet âge-là. On pense à des deuils ou des choses comme ça. Il y a aussi le fait, ça dépend aussi, on a des types de consommateurs. Donc, il y a des gens qui se consomment depuis un très, très jeune âge. C'est une chose. Il y a des gens pour qui la retraite va avoir été un moment très difficile. Comment ça s'est passé, ou le fait de laisser le travail qui était la source du sens de la vie, par exemple, pour ces personnes-là. Donc, il y a des enjeux qui sont vraiment liés à l'âge, qui font en sorte qu'une approche spécifique en gérontoxicomanie est pertinente. Et on le voit tous les jours. Souvent aussi, on peut voir que quand les personnes plus jeunes ont des enjeux de dépendance, c'est des personnes, on est en crise d'identité ou en recherche d'identité, en quête de soi. Et on voit que pour les personnes aînées, on rencontre des situations où les personnes se sentent en perte de soi et en perte de sens. On n'est pas à la même place quand on intervient en gérontoxicomanie. On est assez d'accord. Je suis désolée. La connexion. C'est ça. On est très d'accord avec Joanne Hari qui dit, et dont la position est que l'opposé de la dépendance n'est pas la sobriété, mais la connexion. Ça, en anglais, ça se dit drôlement mieux. The opposite of addiction is not sobriety, it's connection. Et ça, on le voit tous les jours. C'est l'essentiel de notre travail. Quelqu'un qui a un problème de dépendance ou d'addiction, on a un problème à ce moment-là, un problème de connexion. Un problème de connexion à soi, puis un problème de connexion aux autres. Et oui, c'est sur ça que je vais faire mes dernières petites minutes. Je vois que le temps file. Alors, comment est-ce qu'au groupe Harmonie, on accompagne les gens pour une meilleure connexion à soi et une meilleure connexion aux autres? La meilleure connexion à soi, on va le travailler en accompagnement, en intervention individuelle. Ça se fait grâce au jumelage bénévole. Ça se fait grâce à l'écoute, une écoute attentive, une écoute authentique. et une présence présente. J'aime dire présence présente, c'est-à-dire être avec la personne vraiment. Donc, que ce soit l'intervenante principale ou la personne bénévole, on demande et on insiste sur l'authenticité du rapport aussi. Les relations entre l'intervenant ou le bénévole et la personne aidée sont un modèle de relation. C'est une relation dans laquelle il est possible d'être en désaccord, mais ça va. C'est une relation dans laquelle on peut dire non et ça va. C'est une relation dans laquelle on installe la confiance, on installe le temps, le don du temps aux personnes aussi pour se livrer et être rencontrés vraiment. On est donc des modèles de relation. On a une confiance profonde, ça c'est le volet humaniste de notre approche. On a une confiance profonde que les gens sont en mesure de dépasser leur situation. Puis parfois, ben ça c'est d'avoir confiance pour eux, en fait. Et puis voilà. J'ai vu que j'ai 1 minute, alors je vais... je suis un peu déstabilisée. Donc, la connexion des personnes à elles-mêmes et aux autres se fait à travers les groupes d'entraide, à travers le jumelage bénévole. Mais il y a une chose qui est très importante aussi, c'est la connexion de l'organisme. On est un organisme connecté. Et on est un organisme connecté dans son milieu à travers différentes actions, des projets qu'on fait en partenariat. Voilà. J'aurais aimé avoir ça. Je m'excuse, je me retourne comme ça. C'est ça. Connaître les ressources et services autour, c'est tellement, tellement important en intervention chez nous. Ça nous permet de lier les gens avec les bonnes ressources aux besoins. Connaître les gens au cœur des ressources, c'est aussi c'est très, très important. On met sur pied des projets. On a mis sur pied le projet TROC, le projet La Passerelle en initiative de travail de milieu auprès des aînés. Interaction aussi. Être connecté, c'est être solidaire du milieu communautaire autonome montréalais, mais solidaire aussi de la réalité et des personnes qui travaillent dans le réseau de la santé et des services sociaux. Et travailler en concertation, travailler avec des partenaires pour pouvoir être ici avec vous aujourd'hui, par exemple, et travailler, idéalement, connaître sa ville, connaître ses élus, être connecté avec eux. Et ça nous permet, nous, à ce moment-là, de pouvoir passer le message à nos aidés pour qu'ils puissent s'impliquer à la fois dans leur quartier, dans leur vie, dans leur communauté ou dans leur ville. Alors ça, c'est le lien avec l'appartenance à la ville. Quand on s'appartient à soi, on peut plus appartenir au territoire qu'on habite. On peut entrer mieux en relation avec les autres. Et puis, ben, je vous remercie pour cette présentation. Je vous invite, si le cœur vous en dit, à participer à la caravane de la démocratie, qui sera le 23 mai, une activité de la Ville de Montréal qui vient présenter les services aux aînés inscrits. Alors, sous la forme d'un speed dating, les gens vont rencontrer les ressources, pouvoir discuter entre eux. Ça va être un événement merveilleux, mais il faut être inscrit. Il y a 60 places seulement. Alors, ça nous fait plaisir d'avoir participé à ça. Puis merci de m'avoir écouté.
Shannon Hebblethwaite, Building Bridges, Fostering Belonging Through Intergenerational Engagement. Thank you, Solange, very much. Dr. Shannon Hebblethwaite is an associate professor in the Department of Applied Human Sciences at Concordia. She's the director of Engage, our research center for aging, and the associate scientific director of CREGES, Center for Research and Expertise in Social Gerontology. Shannon's interests are in integrating research and practice in the area of social inclusion for marginalized communities. She is particularly interested in leisure, grandparenting, and intergenerational engagement. Shannon.
Thanks, Kim. Hello. And thanks for sticking around till Friday afternoon and participating in our panel on belonging. And I think Solange has just raised an example of one particular group of older people who we need to be a little more attentive to. Earlier today, we had a really interesting panel on creative housing, and there was lots of conversation about intergenerational relations. So some of it made my talk shorter because you heard a little bit of it this morning, but I do want to explore opportunities first, though, for addressing ageism. We've been talking about this over the last couple of days, but I want to just take a couple minutes explicitly to address some of those issues and challenges in the context of intergenerational interactions and programming. Building bridges, if you will. And just so that you're aware, I come to the conversation, I enjoyed Larissa's talk earlier. I'm a recreation and leisure scholar, so we'll debate the play definitions later on. But I come to this through the lens of leisure, as well as family relations and age studies or gerontology. And so, and I want to remind people more about ageism is coming on May the 21st, Tuesday. Ryan Backer, who's in the back row back there, give everybody wave at Ryan. He's going to be doing a really excellent workshop around combating ageism. So I encourage you to come and participate in that conversation. This is, for those of us in Montreal, this is probably, sadly, a photo that we're quite used to. Construction in Montreal. It seems to be all year round now. There's not just one season, it goes year round. So like the Champlain Bridge and construction in Montreal, it's an ongoing work in progress, as is intergenerational relations, programming, leisure. There's my metaphor for the day. We're done. Maybe eventually we'll get to some vision of this Champlain Bridge, but we still have a little ways to go. Now, ageism in general as a term and as an experience, unfortunately, is not new. Betty Friedan's been talking about this for years. The term, coined by Butler in 1975, way too long ago that we still have to be talking about this issue, noted that ageism reflects a process of collective stereotyping which emphasizes the negative features of aging, which are ultimately traced back to biomedical decline rather than the culturally determined value placed in later life. And Butler goes on to call ageism a psychosocial disease. Aging today continues to be portrayed often, as Mylan pointed out yesterday, as something to fear and to fight at all costs. And if you haven't kind of gotten the message yet, through BOLD, we're really trying to challenge that way of thinking about age. I'm tired of talking about being old as being a bad word. It's not. Everybody's getting older from the day that we're born. So I think it's important for us to think, and when I think about intergenerational work, I'm thinking across the lifespan. Additionally, as May pointed out yesterday in her talk, older adults are often homogenized, lumped together in a very limited range of categories. And so that's something that I just want to bring to your attention as we talk about intergenerational relations as well, because we tend to see, as May pointed out yesterday, lots of images and representations of white heterosexual couples with young grandchildren when we talk about intergenerational relations. And again, like aging, it's much more broad than that. Similarly, Brandeis resident scholar Margaret Morgenroth-Gillette tackles ageism in her recent book, Ending Ageism, or How Not to Shoot Old People. Now, yes, she's chosen a title that grabs people's attention. She's not talking about actually shooting old people. She's talking about how older people are shot in photography, how older people are represented visually. And she curates a series of evocative images that foster identification with or desire for old people. And she embraces surprises that foil ageist expectations. And kind of one example is she has an older woman on a swing playing in the park, which is not how we sort of typically portray older people. In addition, we have, and this was raised earlier today as well, we have this sense in the media of the silver tsunami or the gray tsunami. And that's the image here on the right-hand side, which is a black and white cartoon image of a whole bunch of older people as a big wave crashing over one guy in a suit with an umbrella, as if this is what aging is. And it's extremely problematic. This discourse pervades the mainstream media, despite significant research evidence to the contrary. So we talk a lot about it's going to be a drain on our healthcare system and our pensions aren't going to be there, and it's blatantly false. Ellen Gee and Gloria Gutman many years ago talked about, and they're prominent gerontological scholars, refer to this as apocalyptic demography. That the blaming of all social ills on one demographic phenomenon, the aging population. There was an article just today in the CBC News explaining the CPP plan is fine. We're not going to run out of money in 100 years. We're playing, this is not a demographic phenomenon we didn't see coming. The big wave didn't just sneak up on us. So I argue that this language really vilifies and dehumanizes older people, placing blame on individual behaviors of older adults for not doing enough to, quote unquote, stay healthy. And earlier today, Janet had a really excellent slide that showed that physical activity is only one part of what constitutes our well-being. And being engaged socially and experiencing a sense of belonging in your community were right at the top of the list, top two things. So I think that's really important for us to keep in mind. On the other hand, I think we need to be careful about going too far, swinging the pendulum too far in the other direction. And this is a book from a few years ago called What Makes Olga Run. And don't get me wrong, I'm really happy that Olga's a happy, healthy 94-year-old track star from West Van. You know, she started running when she was 77, and she bowls, she gardens, she lifts weights at the gym. I'm tired just reading about Olga. But I think what's important here, it's important for us to see positive stories about older people, absolutely. But when we swing so far this opposite direction, it sets up unrealistic expectations. It's positive stereotyping, but it can be just as equally harmful. So you're kind of wondering, Shannon, I thought your talk was supposed to be about intergenerational stuff, so I'm getting there. So a little photo for my Uncle Ross, who it's his birthday today, and he's no longer with us. But we come from a rural farm family, so I can't help but put up a little farm photo for you. I want to talk about the opportunities, but also some of the challenges for intergenerational engagement. Intergenerational engagement is one way that I think we can help, not just I think, the research shows that we can help to address this systematic ageism that we still experience. It's really important to acknowledge, though, as a leisure scholar who obviously believes that leisure's a good thing for many people in many situations, but not always. And so I don't stand here to promote physical activity for activity's sake as a universal good, okay? Addiction is one example. That's a leisure activity that can have negative implications or consequences for people. And for some families, intergenerational relationships are fraught with challenge and conflict. So I think we have to be very careful about not laying this broad blanket of we all need to engage with our intergenerational families more. Sometimes absolutely. But we can't make that the only solution, because we know there are families that split, there is abuse that happens. Rekha's been here talking to us about elder abuse over the past few days. So those sorts of situations can be untenable for some folks. Now, that said, there are some really interesting examples, some maybe a little less creative than others. I used to be a recreation therapist, and we've all seen at long-term care facilities, they trot the elementary school in and they do a little baking program and then they go home, and that's good. But I think we can be a little more creative than that. Jen's going to talk to you more about the digital technology piece, but I've seen so many examples of, here, we're going to all buy a Wii or an Xbox, and it goes in the recreation room and it collects dust, or it's involved in simply parallel play. So the relational aspect of things is really important, and it's actually the most important part. It goes back to Janet's slide about the social relations. It's not just about putting people of different generations together in a room, and you can't force the relationship, but you need to try to foster that, because it's that relational piece that really has the positive impacts on people's well-being. Cyber Seniors is an interesting example. If you Google it, you can see their videos on YouTube. It's a lot of youth coming in to teach older people technology. That's how Kim and I first got acquainted, actually, was critiquing some of those challenges. But it's what they do a little bit further there is look at, there's benefits to both generations. The kids coming in from the high school learn just as much from the older people as vice versa. So I'm going to come back to that. So lots of other interesting examples, but a few sort of newer-ish ones and some local examples that I want to share with you. The Cummings Center, Erica Botner, a couple years ago, initiated a virtual book club, okay? Not without its challenges. They went around to people's homes and helped them get connected to use Skype as a video conference thing. It allowed people to interact from their homes in the dead of winter, when we know that's a challenging time for folks to get out in their communities. But it also allowed people who go south for the winter, or people who can't, necessarily get to different places to participate. Rekha, for example, this is one of your guys' photo, has been involved with some of our students, some of our ACT students, in creating a food blog. And this brought together, we forget about intergenerational relationships between university students and older people as well. So this was a really interesting opportunity where students worked with Rekha to help them gain the skills to do blogs and photos and things like that. But it was a chance for them to learn together and share relationships, to share culture through an activity. So it's this purposeful activity that gives the context for people to share and learn together. And then on top of that, then it becomes an activist opportunity for Rekha to write blog posts raising the issues of food insecurity, right? So there's lots of really interesting opportunities. The art hives are set up in the forest space. There's lots of really interesting work happening, bringing generations together in a free form activity, not guided or goal-oriented, just to have fun and do art. So that's my leisure piece. Don't forget that there's just fun associated. It doesn't always have to be, this is going to make me be able to walk farther, or this is going to stave off dementia, right? There's a really important piece of leisure that is just about having fun together. Eric Craven at the Atwater Library has worked with Lynn Grenier to do digital music making, where older people are learning new skills. And a quick shout out to Miranda, give a big wave, Miranda, in the back, has just gotten some funding to start a new program. So if you happen to live in the NDG Côte des Neiges or just NDG? Just NDG neighborhood in Montreal. They're going to be doing a really interesting program, a little bit similar but slightly different from May's talk yesterday, around intergenerational storytelling, and where older adults are going to be able to share their stories. The students in the schools are then going to create an art something project exhibit. They'll come together with the older adults and they'll then exhibit that to be able to share their stories. So there's lots of really interesting creative opportunities. I know I'm way close at my time. One last example. This was a project that we did here at Concordia at the daycare at the CPE. And we brought to this, it arose out of an intergenerational interaction in a class with a student in his 20s and another student in his 60s who created this project. They went into the daycare, they got older people to volunteer to come in and help out at the daycare. And we talked to the older folks, we talked to the educators at the daycare, 3 generations, right? Plus the kids, age 2 to 5. And these were some of the stories they shared. So just a quick sort of, this was how he described the story. Jaden's the little guy on the left, and Judy's the volunteer on the right. And Jaden's drawing his picture, and he says, "Oh, and a little smile for me." And he says, "I want to play guitar, just like Judy, who doesn't play the guitar. She brings the auto harp, but she plays music for him." So they create that mutual bond and interest. And he draws Judy and her auto harp, and he says, "She's beautiful, eh?" And he says, "She can make it go louder or not so loud." So that's the volume control there in the photo. And then he says, "She played like a Jedi. She had the force." Okay? So this is putting older people in valued social roles. Starting at a very young age, we can help younger people to engender a sense of belonging, inclusion, to decreased ageist stereotypes, to foster more values of inclusion, to engage in that bi-directional learning, recognizing that we all have lots to learn from each other. We can do this in creative ways to facilitate our self-expression, enhancing compassion and competence. And there was an interesting study done in a long-term care facility with some folks as part of the group who started to exhibit signs of dementia. And what they showed at the end was that those who had participated in an intergenerational group then focused less on the health challenges as the person progressed with dementia than those who didn't, right? So I think those are kind of the key message. Just I'll put these up and make my conclusion because I'm at time, I know. Lots of research out there that shows lots of benefits. I think my message hopefully is that a purposeful, thoughtful, facilitated, and protracted contact between younger people and older people has been certainly extremely helpful in mitigating negative attitudes, ageist attitudes, and stereotypes. So I think it's a good start. It's not going to solve the problem, and they don't all turn out like this. They it's a careful facilitation that happens. But what I hope this will inspire folks to do is to be bold in how you approach your intergenerational programming and opportunities. I hope that the conversations that we've started at Bold encourage everyone to continue on or to take up and raise your voices in whatever form that might be, to think more broadly and more boldly about age and aging. So last slide here, if those of you who are interested, there's a West End intergenerational network. Miranda and Tracy are the contact folks there. So if you're interested in starting or learning more about intergenerational programs, they're the folks that you should get in touch with. Thanks.
Thank you, Shannon. So our last speaker will be Jennifer Boger, who's from the University of Waterloo, all the way from Ontario.
All the way, yeah.
All the way. And her talk will be Engage Me, Leveraging Technology to Support Personhood, Citizenship, and Intergenerational Connections. And if I can just say a few words about you.
Yeah,
okay. You might, or Dr. Jennifer Boger is an assistant professor in systems design engineering at the University of Waterloo. She holds the Schlegel Research Chair in Technology for Independent Living at the Research Institute for Aging and loves playing with technology. Jennifer believes solutions should be focused on solving real-world problems. As such, she engages in transdisciplinary collaboration, user-driven design practices that blend knowledge from computer science, engineering, and rehabilitation sciences to create internationally renowned, intelligent assisted technologies for supporting graceful aging. She's also spearheading the concept of, quote, ethical by design, unquote, which involves creating a methodology to enable people from different backgrounds to discuss and build ethics into products or systems throughout their life cycle. Things age too. So with that, Dr. Boger.
Thank you. So I feel like we're at halftime of like the last thing. Anyone who wants to and can stand up and do just like a stretch and like wake up. Oh yeah. Yeah, I know, just we've been sitting a lot. I'm someone who's very active, so sitting a lot is hard. I start to just kind of either fall asleep or bounce in my chair. So thank you. I will try to keep it to 20 minutes. I'm really happy to be here to speak to you, and I feel like it's been an awesome 2 days, and the whole 2 days just really, for me, gives me remotivation that, you know, we're on the right track with what we're trying to do. And being in engineering, I'm a bit of a black sheep because I build a lot of sort of the social sciences side of stuff into my tech. But it's so nice to be at sort of more social science gathering where I'm like, yay, I think we're doing the right thing here. And, you know, Shannon's talk set it up beautifully for, I can really scream through my intro because she kind of did it for me. But first, to yourselves, how are you doing today? Just take a minute. Why are you feeling that way? Not just how, but why? What is making you feel like that? And then what I really am interested in doing is how might we leverage technology to help you do better? But to be able to do number 3, we have to understand the first 2 points. Because if I don't understand the first 2 points, then I'm just throwing technology at you with no understanding about what the root cause is or who you are or how that tech then impacts on your life. And this is sort of the paradox of growing older and technology with growing older is a lot of people, especially young people, that's what they imagine growing older to be like, right? Little gray hair, I need glasses to read the menu, and you know, that's kind of where it ends. What we don't think about is that might be my reality. You know, we can stack the deck in our favor, but when it comes down to it, there's an awful lot of luck about how aging turns out. But it also means that aging doesn't have to be that. So that's the other side of the coin. You say, as you know, we've talked about, you say aging, and people have this very sort of binary vision about what that might be, and the entire spectrum is lost. The other thing that's happening in society is we're living longer. We're literally not dying from things that used to kill us. And what that means is we tend to collect a lot more chronic stuff. As we age, we just gather more of it. But the system is not reflecting this. The technology is not reflecting this. A lot of our design systems are not reflecting the needs, abilities, wants, preferences, access, everything else of older adults. So the internet's a beautiful one. Pretty much every younger design group I work with, they're like, well, we'll build something that does this and this. I'm like, what if you don't have the internet? And they're just dumbfounded. It's like, right? But without it, really, you're And I mean, this is something we talked about this morning. Personally, I think everyone over the age of 65, regardless of everything else, you get internet paid for. Right? Okay? Because, like, I'm sorry, there's a group where you need the internet to access more services, more so than, or at least as much as any other population. Your mobility is often less, and isolation is often higher, et cetera, et cetera. You know, your income's down, your perceived need for the internet is lower, all these things. So, but without the internet, then, you know, a lot of the technologies and other systems that could help you can't get to you. So anyway, soapbox rant for another time, a beer. So, you know, aging, I agree. Aging is from the minute you're born to the minute you die. The whole time you're aging. One person's 65 is another's 45, vice versa, right? It's complex, dynamic, and personal. Sometimes it changes very quickly and unexpectedly. Sometimes not for a long time. Social inclusion. It's not just about health. I mean, this is great. I can just blow through all these as we've been talking. Usually I have to spend time convincing people on this stuff. And this is a big one. It's not just enough that the technology there could help you. You have to perceive it can help you. So it has to complement your ability to interact with it. You yourself have to feel that it's something useful for what you need. And it has to match how you imagine you want to interact with it or could interact with it. If it doesn't do those three things, then it's useless. It's not a usable or useful technology. And the problem right now is all our tech is pretty much designed by 20 to 40-year-olds sitting with a bunch of 20, 40-year-olds asking the guy beside you, hey, does this make sense? Right? We're leaving out some people in that conversation. So that's what I'm focused on doing, is looking at new, innovative ways of building technologies that complement aging in all its many colors. And one thing I try and really leverage is how can we use high tech to build more zero effort technologies? And zero effort tech is a term I coined with Alex Michaelides, who's a massive name in assistive technology and just an awesome guy. And he was my mentor for many years. He still is. But now that I'm my own faculty, he's not my boss anymore. But basically the idea of zero effort tech is tech that's so well designed that all your effort is toward the task or activity you're trying to do, not operating some gadget. So your cell phone is not a zero effort technology. It's like anti-zero effort technology, right? Something we're building in the lab right now is a seat cushion where you sit on it and it takes your heart rate for people with heart failure. That, in my opinion, is a zero effort technology. You don't have to do anything. You just put it on your favorite chair and plug it in. That's it. Every time you sit, it takes your heart rate. So if you're someone with heart failure living at home who has to take their heart rate and blood pressure, etc., many times a day, all you need to do now is just sit where you'd sit anyway, and it's done for you. And there's way less stigma. There's no buttons to press. You don't have to record anything. You don't have to send off anything. It just happens. Well, I'm going to talk to you today about one of my favorite projects that's coming out of my group right now, which is immersive VR, virtual reality XR games for people living with dementia. There's a mouthful. This came not from us, but from exercise therapists. So I do a lot of work with Schlegel Villages, which is a long-term care assisted living retirement facility. There's several of them across Ontario. It's one of the groups I work with. And we had this virtual reality headset, hand controllers, and we're like, we want to do something cool with this. What do you guys think? And we got the therapists thinking, and it came out pretty loud and clear. They're like exercise for people moderate stage dementia. Because this is a group that has trouble in group exercise settings. It's often overwhelming or intimidating. Things are moving too fast. There's too much noise. So people don't necessarily like to join. or they can't get to it, or it's at a bad time of day, et cetera, and people just don't exercise enough as it is. So they're like, this way, maybe people not only could do it on their own time, but they could do group stuff, they could do this instead, whatever, and it's a game, so it'd be fun. So that's what we did. We teamed up with exercise therapists and people with dementia, and together we all built it. So this is not a bunch of engineers building the technology for people with dementia, but with people with dementia. They were helping us make design decisions about how the games would work, what the environment looked like, etc. And all of it's based on rehabilitation, exercise, kinesiologists, best practice moves. So they're the ones who chose these movements. So head and neck rotation, overhead reaching, cross body reaching, reaching straight ahead, and rowing. And they fought amongst themselves a lot to get it down to 5 because we only had one master student who can only do so much programming. And also the environment itself. We took a long time figuring that one out. So what would be engaging, non-threatening, but interesting, you know, people could identify with it. A lot of the therapists wanted a pet store, but we didn't know how to do rowing in a pet store. Pat 2 bunnies at once, maybe, not sure. So, you know, farming kind of popped out. It was not gender specific, all the rest of the stuff. It was just because we never tried immersive virtual reality with moderate stage dementia before. We wanted to keep it simple and not threatening because we literally didn't even know how people would react when they put this on and started trying to game. I'm not sure if the video plays with me pushing the button. Maybe there it goes.
Oh, I'm in the rowboat. I love you. A bushel and a peck, a bushel and a peck, and a ring around your neck.
So here the system's calibrating to everyone's range of motion and reach.
I can't move my hand.
That's okay. It's just however far is comfortable.
Oh, we'll come back.
And you can see people have very different abilities. These are just 3 people. And they're all trying it for the first time.
Beautiful. Come on. Come on. Oh, you're a beauty. I love it. I love it.
Good job. Perfect. No problem. Good.
Oh, apples. Okay. Apples. Oh, the oranges. Okay. 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 Okay.
Great.
Oh, that's an orange.
There you
I
go.
mean, that's an apple.
Yeah, you knew what to do. Look at that. Just orange. Try the other basket.
Wrong
there
basket.
You go. Yeah.
Trees. A cloudy sky.
Very nice. 2 trees. And you rowed a boat.
Oh, I'm in a rowboat. I love you. A bushel and a peck, a bushel and a peck, and a ring around your neck. Oh, oh, look at that. We're going far. Okay. Okay. I love it. Oh my God, do I love it.
For you. Are we going for the trees?
Yeah, that would be nice to roll across.
So, other than it being weird to hear my own voice talking about Those people, it's the first time they tried that game. And out of all the stuff I've built in my coming on 20 odd years now, this hit the mark closer right away to what we were hoping to do with it. Everyone put it on, knew what to do. They had a fun time with it. And the therapist too, I was saying to Shannon this morning, one of the therapists, one of her clients put it on and she's like, I didn't know she could reach like that. And it's like, yes. So not only now are we like getting people to move in ways that they don't normally move, they're having fun, they're playing a game. For anyone who's never tried head-mounted virtual reality, if you ever get a chance, give it a go. It looks super gimmicky, but my goodness, you put it on and you literally feel like you're somewhere else. So it's giving a different experience to people. And you know, best of all, I think it's starting to flip the stereotype. Like older adults with moderate dementia can be gamers too. As a gamer, I'm a geeky gamer. I'm like, that's cool, right? So one thing we're looking at is, okay, cool. So now that we know it kind of works and people can use it, now the door is blown open about where to go next. And we've got a bigger team and so many different new directions. And one of them that I'm keen on is how do we do collaborative intergenerational gaming? How can people game with their grandkids or someone else remotely, right? You can do turn-based games or collaborative games with just whoever's online, stuff like that. But again, looking at how can we use technology to sort of break down social barriers so that now you're gaming with someone living with dementia. That's kind of cool. Well, I think it's kind of cool. But the other thing we can do with this on the techie geeky side is we can capture a lot of metrics that you couldn't do before. And the therapists are really keen about this too, because now we can take things that weren't quantifiable before, how fast you're reaching, how far, etc., actually get numbers for it. So something else we're looking at is, can we use how people are interacting with the game to get a feel for how they're doing, their cognitive state, if there's some sort of change in ability, plus or minus, that sort of thing. So that's sort of a side project. Another project that we're just starting up on in collaboration, Kirsten at Waterloo, she has social robotics. So we want to see, can we use robots to foster more meaningful connections between older adults and youth? So I just recently completed actually a literature review on technology for fostering intergenerational connectivity, because that's never been looked at before. But there's growing evidence now. It's going to be out any day now. There's growing evidence that there's a massive potential for technology to support. Not to say programming should go aside, not at all, but that there's a role technology can play in accelerating and supporting this intergenerational connectivity. The problem is nobody knows quite how to use it yet. But one thing that's popping up is the idea of games. Because with games, it's something where you can kind of level the playing field. You can make games where people have roles that match their abilities, right? So not everyone has to be doing the same thing in a game. You can make games where the actual roles of the player are more dependent on what their interests and abilities are. So we're looking at, okay, cool. How can we use social robots to maybe do this? And again, here we're looking more at retirement living situations, where we're looking at how can we have robots. It sounds a little out there, but actually a lot of people think social robots are pretty cool, and especially kids. So we're like, how can we use robots as a mediator for fostering real world relationships? So there we have the robot in some shared gameplay, where the robot's not the focus of the gameplay though, but more a mediator towards gameplay. But it doesn't have to be this complicated. So I only have 1 minute left. I guess you can play the video. Okay, so this is, oh hey, I even wrote it down. It doesn't have to be complicated. This next example is not my technology, but I think it's actually one of the most brilliant uses of technology for intergenerational. Oh, can you just click on that for me? Thank you.
Not all of our students have the chance to travel abroad and to interact with native speakers of English. What our students really want is to speak English fluently, and we're always asking ourselves, how can we make it more real, more human? We created a tool that connects our students with seniors in the USA living in retirement homes.
Hello, hello.
Melissa.
Hi, Dick. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
It's the first time that I'm talking with someone from another country.
I'm very excited to be doing this.
I look like I'm only 25, but I'm 88.
Do you have sisters and brothers?
No, I'm one child.
Only one. Oh, you poor fella.
I'm live with my old brother. He has 23 years.
Do you know, instead of saying he has 23 years, you could say he is 23 years old.
I tried to go to Lollapalooza that we have next week, I think, in Brazil, but my mom didn't let me.
You got a good mom.
Good morning, dear Julia. Good morning to you.
This is your dad?
That's me and my wife when we were young.
Oh, you were good looking when you were young. And you're still good looking.
My first destiny is United States, of course, because I wanted to put better my English.
Well, you do very well, I must say.
Are you planning someday to go to Brazil?
Oh, I would like to.
You can stay in my house if you want.
If you could just dream and have whatever you want, what do you think you would like to be doing?
I see myself in a big family, you know, with a beautiful wife. You know. I want to thank you for this change of experience, you know. You are incredible.
Obrigado.
You are my new granddaughter, and I love you.
I love you too.
And if you were here, I would give you a big hug.
Oh yeah, let's hug. Oh. Bye.
Bye.
So an example of just, right? That to me is an example of appropriate use of technology. And it doesn't have to be complicated. The other thing is skill swaps. These already exist, right? Again, where people can self-identify things they're interested in or good at or can do for someone else and literally swap. I'll take you to the grocery store if you teach me some chords on guitar or whatever. Yeah, so, the shirts say it all. I love that picture. I want to get shirts made like this for my dad and my son, actually. I'm going to rip off their idea. But at the end of the day, if there's one take-home message from the talk, it has to be for me, with me, by me, right? So again, the tech shouldn't be designed for us. It should be designed for the person who's using it, whoever that person might be. And so, my goal is to use tech, to leverage tech to change sort of that and stack it more towards that, because, that's what I want. Hopefully Freedom 55. But we'll see how that goes. So thanks very much for your attention. That's my lab group there. All the stuff I was presenting, it's not me who actually built it, it's them. And if you want to know more, you can check out our website or just get in touch with me. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you to Don. Do you hear me? Thank you, all three of our speakers, for this set of inspiring talks. All right, audience, give me a W. Give me an I. Give me a T. Give me an H. What do you got? Right. So, if there's one thing that I think connects many of these talks today, not only that we're all here in this room on these wonderful couches, but there is a kind of emphasis on how we rethink the idea of connection and the kind of importance of understanding what it means to not only work for, but to work with. So that's kind of what I'm hearing from all of you a little bit. And I heard from all of you, because I made you do it. No, I tricked you. No. Then I also think that there's also other themes that come about how we set up collaborations with each other and for each other. Because sometimes we want to do things with people, but we don't sometimes have always the energy or the time. So with is something we value, but at the same time, not everything is always a possibility, as much as it could be. There's another kind of interesting set of questions, is who acts as the in-between to make those connections? Because we want to connect, but sometimes well, how do we even go about doing that? Is technology the answer? Is an organization an answer with people who are trained facilitators? Is a bridge the answer? As in Shannon. Not in Montreal. They'll just get you in the pothole and into the St. Lawrence. Yeah, that's a whole other topic for next year's. I think I have a title from Larissa's talk. You used the term super aging countries, and I kept thinking, yeah, super aging. We all get to wear capes next year. So again, we live in these kind of, I think one of the other themes that's also come out over the past 2 days that I think we're always working with and trying to understand better is what's the consequence of living in an age-segregated world. I like to blame sometimes my old field of marketing research, which sees everybody in terms of demographics, the 5 to 10, the 10 to 15, the 15 to 20, as if we have things in common only with people of our own ages. But I always like to also say, I don't even know what age I am sometimes. I have this arthritic toe, which I've been living with since I've been about 20. My toe is 80 and has been for about 60 years. Whereas sometimes I feel like I act like a 13-year-old and have the emotional state of a 5-year-old, but yet I have a university degree, so I must be at least 25. So even saying how old are you gets to be difficult. So we live in this kind of idea of age segregation. And I think, so even thinking about intergenerational connection is kind of an odd thing, because how old are we? We are all aging, but even our own bodies aren't aging all the time at the same rate. And again, these are interesting questions for thinking about how it is we create something we call intergenerational connection. So I don't know if anybody wants to respond to any of these issues or these people to each other, but I'm having my panelists up here put their pointing towards all you and saying they want to hear from you. So, questions? There's a question over here.
Right here.
Thanks so much for those wonderful talks. My question was actually to Jennifer in terms of the VR work. So I've worked a little bit in VR, and I'm, you know how there's 15% that have a different proprioception, like who cannot cope with VR. And I've had to write reviews of game VR stuff where I've sat and watched VR for like 5 minutes, and then I've thrown up wildly, like Linda Blair is in my soul, and then have been sick for days afterwards because of my proprioception is all out. So how do you deal with that? Because it's not something that we can engineer out of the technology, because VR has been around for 30 years. And it's a bit like cars. They say, oh, well, we'll just get, cars have been around for over 100 years, and yet people still get car sick. So there are some bodies, just to think about the body again, that come with particular types of preperception that can't be shifted or tweaked by the technology. And I know this has been used in good ways, like with phantom limb syndrome and things like that. But as somebody working in the technology space, how do you deal with those unevenness, the idea of unevenness and proprioception?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a good question. So like everything else, it's not for everyone. No technology is for everyone, and technology is not the answer for everything. It's for the people it works for. It might work well. For another set, it might kind of work. And for some other people, it's not their thing at all, which is true with every single piece of tech, every single social program, every single everything. I think, sort of, even to Kim's point, and now I get to answer her question kind of at the same time, there's no one solution at all. I think what we have to do more is get a bigger toolbox with more tools in it, so that we can pick and choose which tools work for whichever people. So yes, while VR and motion sickness is improving, it's still, some people, it's not even like it's kind of not my thing. It's like it's really not their thing. It sounds like it's really not your thing. And that's okay, right? Like, I think it's more, let's innovate so that we have more options, so that there's more available to people, so they can choose what works best for them.
Other questions out there? I'm standing because there's the bright lights of the big city. Yep, right there.
Hi. Another question for you. Have you considered the implications of privacy in the use of technology?
Yep, 100%. So I do a lot of ambient technology. So that's technology built into your environment, unobtrusive as possible. So now invisible, more or less, tech in your environment that runs artificial intelligence. So now it's autonomously invisible in your environment, collecting data for people with dementia. There's a couple of ethical concerns there. And I've been building this for a while. And in doing so, there are a lot of ethical concerns that we've thought about and mulled over and how best to do this. But what's interesting is it's almost like there's binary reactions between either don't use the technology at all because that's just too crazy, or people can't make any, like especially dementia, they can't make any decisions about whether they want to engage or not. So it's kind of like patronizing over protectionism, or just like, meh, everything collects data anyway, go ahead kind of and none of them are right. And what I've kind of started to feel is, one, the people building it are not trained to ask these questions. So they feel like it's someone else's job. Not that they don't care, they're just not trained to. It's not part of the way we put engineers and technologists through school. So then it tries to get retrofitted in after the tech's built. You can imagine how well that works, right? Not at all. But part of the other problem is tech is accelerating so fast and becoming so complicated. The only people who even kind of really understand how it works are the people who build it. So if they're not the ones asking the ethical questions, it's very hard for outsiders to, because they don't even know necessarily what they're looking at. So part of the work I'm also doing, which is a whole nother, I'm actually going to the UN Summit for AI for Good at the end of May to partake in just these sorts of discussions, is the idea of how can we build technologies that are more inherently ethical. So sort of how can we build in ethical norms into our technology, but also leave the tech transparent and malleable enough that people can make their own choices about sort of more the nuances of how and when to engage with it. And a big part of that, sort of roundabout back to your original question, I think the big problem is we don't have good ways for everyone to discuss it, right? We need really multi-stakeholder discussions from users in the community, government, industry, academia, like people from all sorts of different backgrounds to talk about the issues so that we can make better decisions. But that's not happening right now. But at least the positive side of that is the time's ripe. More than ever before, industry wants to do this, but we're at this point now where they don't know quite how. And so that's what I'm really trying to work on, is building sort of better models or procedures to open that conversation, to get people talking about difficult ideas. And then how can we then reflect, how can we make technology tools of human beings, not humans using technology?
Solange, you had...
1, 2. Ah, voilà. Je veux revenir en fait à un truc que j'ai pas eu l'occasion de dire dans la présentation, c'est le fait que les bénévoles au groupe Harmonie on leur donne une formation dans laquelle on adresse la question de l'agisme en fait. Et puis c'est intéressant parce que l'agisme, on le voit aussi à l'inverse des fois. Mais quand on donne la formation aux bénévoles, on fait vraiment place au fait que les gens qu'on rencontre, quand ils viennent nous voir, ils arrivent eux-mêmes en ayant assimilé ou introjecté l'idée qu'ils sont eux-mêmes des aînés qui ont un enjeu de dépendance et ils oublient eux-mêmes toutes les richesses qu'il y a derrière. En formation, on met vraiment l'accent sur le fait que la personne arrive, puis oui, il y a l'âge et l'identité de la toxicomanie, on les écarte tout de suite, puis notre intérêt, la personne à qui on s'adresse, c'est le lot des identités derrière. Et c'est cette personne-là qu'on rencontre, puis la question de l'agisme est tellement intéressante à aborder avec des bénévoles qui souvent sont des étudiants ou des jeunes adultes. Alors, c'est juste faire le pont que quand on le clarifie, on le met devant, on le tasse, et après, on a accès à cette relation-là pour laquelle l'âge n'a pas d'importance. Puis des fois, on doit faire la même chose avec les aînés qu'on aide, de dire la personne n'aura pas son cellulaire là, ça ne sera pas important. On enlève ça, elle est là pour vous. C'est deux personnes qui se rencontrent, on fait de l'âge quelque chose d'autre, en fait.
Other questions?
This might also be our last one for the day, just because we're getting close to time.
Time flies when you're being bold.
I just wanted to say I really loved the pairing in the last video between the people in Brazil wanting to learn English and the seniors in Canada. I thought it was great because it was a natural pairing. It was looking at the perspectives of the two parties from very different, coming from very different places, but coming to the same place and making something work. I thought it was brilliant. And I think that intergenerational and complementary bringing together was a really great idea. And I think more ideas like that we can come up with that use the technology in very creative ways, that's the way to go.
Hear, hear. And, you know, just to that point, one reason why it works so well is this strong shared idea of purpose, right? Like they have this common goal, which is speaking English together. But having that shared interest or shared goal, you're basically collaborating, and it breaks down a lot of barriers.
Yeah, we have one last question. Shannon may have to run, but so we have one last question. I also want to go back. Another link that I think is in all those papers is that question of a kind of project, and so that it's not the technology for its own sake, but there's a sense of we can creatively do something, and what are the tools that we then need to do it? Where's that question? Sorry.
Hi, I just wanted to know, you said you take data. Is this data secure?
For my stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, well, for my stuff, it's very secure because it's all prototypes, which means it never leaves our devices. But this is a really excellent question, is as we accelerate using technology, collecting more data, yes, privacy security is very much of the utmost concern. And I think it goes beyond that. It's not even just privacy and security, but it's also informed consent and concepts like that. It's not enough just to say your data is private and secure. You should know what is being done with it and have a choice about whether you then want to engage with that product or service. Ideally, have some decision making over what happens with your data. That's not always possible, but at the bare minimum, you should be clear about who owns your data and who they may or may not give it to. So yeah, very important points.
Kim, it's your mom's birthday, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have a birthday. We're gonna do one more question. We're gonna do one more.
Question? Yep. No, it's not my mom's question. It's Iqbal, who's not my mom.
Hi. My question goes back to you when you were talking about your data and that it's protected and it's right now it's in your lab. Now, I can see that somebody's going to propose to you to commercialize it. Now, do you have anything in place whereby you can place preconditions on how the technology will be used and the data generated, and it will be protected? Because right now it's really difficult. Once it gets out, that's a problem.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely true. And unfortunately, I can't put any sort of precondition on it. So, commercialization, it's up to the corporation as to what their rules are. They don't get my data. If they see this idea of technology is published, so now it's on the open, knowledge market. So theoretically, anyone can pick up this idea and build it themselves. And once you do so, then it's up to you to govern your own privacy and data. So, there are systems in place that are trying to protect. So, for example, the EU and the GDPR stuff, if anyone's heard of that right now, the European Union has just rolled out a lot of much more stringent laws about data protection, privacy, all the rest of this stuff, including people's right to, when they withdraw from a service, that you can demand they delete all your data at any time. And so this is being enacted across the EU right now, and a lot of services now are not crossing the pond because the North American system is not compliant with this. But it's coming up to speed fast because we expect similar things to happen here, and they should in the next few years, right? So, it's one of these things, though, where technology is outpacing public awareness, but then the public starts catching up and demanding, more stringent stuff happen. But while we're doing this, technology's already taken another leap forward. So that's why I'm really interested in this ethical by design piece, where we're not running to play catch up, but that we're actually trying to build more responsible technology from the get-go, right? Because if people want to do horrible things with technology, they will find a way. I think the bigger problem is people who inadvertently or because of ignorance of what might happen, technology gets used in ways that might not be appropriate by accident. Because if people want to be crafty and they want to do awful things, yeah, people are smart and they'll find a way, So that's kind of a depressing note to end on, though. I feel like we need something else.
Just the last thought to one of our organizers of the event, Constance Lafontaine, everyone. Last question of the day. Thanks, Constance.
What an introduction. So just a question, just to kind of wrap up also in relationship to one of the themes of this 2-day conference was about thinking about inclusion and exclusion. So I'm curious to hear from Solange and from Shannon. So in those initiatives in reaching out to older adults, how can we do better work at connecting with people who don't necessarily opt into those services? So whether it be Groupe Harmonie and, support for their addictions, or in those intergenerational, workshops or activities, who aren't necessarily the ones who are going to go and opt into these services. What do you propose as strategies that we put in place?
Yeah, well, for example, we try to reach people who live in the downtown west through a field work initiative is not a good way to say it. Une initiative de travail de milliers. So counselors, community workers in the environment, but they will go to reach people in, for example, the towers of the downtown west. C'est to find initiatives that can make people get reached, which is not easy. So through work and getting in touch with the responsibles for the habitation, les résidences, then it's a way to get in, to get to knock at the door, to find a way to get the human contact with the person, la relation de confiance, and then just open the door and then we're fine. We can take the time to explain. C'est vraiment de développer des initiatives de travail de milieu au sein des communautés, que le message passe. Parce que c'est bien les technologies, mais ce qui est vrai qui a été dit aujourd'hui, c'est que beaucoup des gens qu'on veut aider n'ont pas accès à l'information qui désormais ne se trouve que par le biais des technologies. Donc, c'est encore par le biais de l'être humain qu'on a le meilleur contact à la personne puis qu'on peut l'aider et la mettre en lien avec les bonnes ressources.
I think my final message, and this is going to sound maybe a little pie in the sky, but I think we just have to be more compassionate with each other. I think we have to be better human beings than what we're being today. Like I think it's people withdraw, they don't have trust in people. I think relationships are really central there, and I think that's one thing we've learned in all of our work, and you could say is it doesn't happen overnight, and we know those people. There's lots of people out there who don't feel included and who couldn't come or didn't feel comfortable to come or whatever. So I think that's up to all of us as individuals to reach out, and that's what I think is inspiring, is community oriented initiatives where your postal worker and the pharmacist and everybody, the person in the line, the clerk at the grocery store, right? Like those sorts of community oriented things where people take notice of who you are and that we do have a common humanity.
On that,
there you go.
On that note, I'd just like to say thank you that this is the end of the 2 days of the BOLD Symposium, but there are still activities that are happening next week in the fourth space that's out there, the fabulous open air public space for you to inhabit from Tuesday to Thursday.
Friday?
Yeah, well,
Tuesday to Friday. Next week, Tuesday to Friday, 10 a.m. till 6 p.m. Yep.
Oui, si vous voulez vous enregistrer, if you want to sign up pour la caravane de la démocratie où les services de la ville vont être présentés, je vous en ai parlé plus tôt, vous pouvez aller, je vais être au kiosque pendant une bonne demi-heure, voire 1 heure encore, puis je prendrai les réservations de celles et ceux qui pourraient être intéressés à être des nôtres le 23 mai en après-midi pour la caravane.
And with that,
I would like to thank everybody who came and participated, and please share your thoughts and feedback, and thanks to all of our speakers today and yesterday and everybody who's participated, our partners, all the people we've thanked all the way along. Thank you again and again and again.
Merci.
So I hope you've enjoyed it.
Thank you
Happy
to
long
Shannon.
weekend.
Thank you to you and Kim.
Yeah,
applause.
If I may, I just want to say, Kim Sawchuk, Shannon Hebblethwaite, thank you so much for the leadership that you do for ACT and for Engage. Constance is running away, but Constance and Nora, merci beaucoup for everything you did. I just want to point that out, that this is amazing leadership. These things wouldn't happen without people doing funding and putting on these events that we can have LSQ interpretation. It's so much work, so thank you so much.